Aloha, Katie. Thanks for hosting this evening, and thanks for everybody for joining us. My name's Scott, and Vincent asked me, he's traveling and unable to host the call this evening like he usually does. So he asked me if I would step in and fill in for him, which I'm glad to do, especially to be able to share the time with John, who's someone who I have known for a long time and worked with in various different ways, and have a lot of respect for his knowledge and his passion for defending Hawaii. So really happy to have him on this evening to talk about invasive species and how to prevent them. For those who don't know, as Katie said, I'm the executive director for Kipahulu Ohana, which is a Hawaiian organization in Kipahulu that operates a traditional taro farm in the Haleakala National Park in partnership with the park, called Kapahu Living Farm. And we have various other projects as well. And then I also am the treasurer for the Hana chapter of the HFUU, and I help to organize the Hana Farmers Market every Friday afternoon in Hana Town. And a little background on John, and like I said, I've known him for a long time, but a few years ago when we had the rat lungworm outbreak in Hana and had several different people who were stricken by this really awful disease, we took the initiative in the Hana chapter to make a rat lungworm task force and try to be proactive about getting out education to consumers and to farmers in particular. And it just so happened that John was designated by the Department of Agriculture as sort of the point person for rat lungworm on Maui. So he ended up working with us in our outreach efforts, doing a number of kind of farm visits where we'd go out to farms and help to just educate the farmers and learn from the farmers as well about managing the semi-slugs and just talking about vector control and making sure that they did everything they could to keep the slugs out of the food supply. So John has really been supportive of our chapter out here in that way and in other ways. He's works in the plant quarantine division. He's a plant quarantine inspector in the Department of Agriculture. So he routinely inspects the incoming agricultural goods for plant disease, insect infestation, and other pests. And he has experience in biological control for noxious weeds, food safety, plant breeding, commercial crop harvest, and animal husbandry. And he also runs his own small farm upcountry. And Hawaii Department of Agriculture is the first line of defense against invasive species. And they do the best they can with limited staff and resources to try to protect our islands and our agricultural industry. But it's up to all of us, and particularly the farmers, as kind of the makainana, the eyes on the land, to be informed about pests and invasive threats and knowledgeable, be diligent in our own practices about how we bring in plants and how we transport plants between different areas of the islands, and just being able to keep an eye out for new pests and things like that. So this is a great opportunity to learn from someone who is serving in this role as our first line of defense, and how we can all be a part of the solution to help protect our islands and prevent invasive species. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John, and I think he's going to do some slides and kind of a presentation at the beginning, and then we'll just have a kind of a talk story and ask some questions, and folks can ask some questions in the chat and just cover whatever topics everybody's interested in relation. So John, take it away.
Hey guys, again, my name is John Frostad. I'm a plant quarantine inspector. I also farm, but I don't do a lot of Zoom meetings, so be patient with me in that regard. So a couple months ago, I was talking to Vincent Mina, the president of the Farmers Union, and he asked, we were just talking about, I wanted to send him some pest advisories, some of these new ones, so that he could share with members. And we just started talking about recent interceptions. And he's like, man, I would love our membership to hear this. I'd love the membership to see this. So he asked if I would, you know, be a guest speaker with him. And of course, now it's Scott. Thank you for the nice introduction, Scott. So I guess tonight the focus is really going to be what's coming in, how it's coming in, and how we can prevent the introduction of new pests, and how we can prevent the spread of pests that already exist here in Hawaii. So I pulled a couple of slides from work, and again, I work for the plant quarantine department. And as Scott said, we're kind of the first line of defense in detecting pests. Sometimes it might be pests on a produce or a live plant. Sometimes the plant itself could be a pest. It could be a noxious weed. We inspect for plant disease, and then of course restricted items or illegal items, illegal animals, that sort of thing. So trying to prevent pests in Hawaii is not a new idea. It was started long before Hawaii became a state. Kalakaua in 1888 initiated it to protect the coffee industry. And because worldwide there are a lot of pests on coffee that didn't exist in Hawaii, like the coffee borer, and of course now the newly discovered coffee rust. So our mission is really to protect Hawaii, but it's also to protect public health and animals, and to support agriculture, and to protect the native flora and fauna. So you look at this picture and it says first line of defense, and the pictures might seem like they're a bit outlandish, but when you look at, for example, the bald eagle there, I mean, just recently we've got some bulbuls here on Maui. Bulbuls can not only be a terrible agricultural pest, but they can also change the entire native forest. They can spread so much different invasive plants and really have a negative effect on the endemic and native plants and animals here. So crabs, you know, it was a few years ago, there was a coconut crab walking down the sidewalk in Waikiki. I mean, people bring these things in. Frogs, we've found several different species of frogs in live plants and in cut flower boxes that come in with the floral industry. The catfish, so at the bottom, you know, there are restricted catfish. One of the things that people seem to want to bring are piranhas. And that's something else that's inspected for and has been intercepted in the past. That big old lion now, that seems a little outlandish, but if you've been on Maui a long time, you know that we've had a big cat here before. So let's just hope that we don't get any more. We conduct inspections really all over the island. Our main home base is at the airport. And of course, we monitor passenger and air cargo. But we also have a maritime office, and it conducts nursery inspections and cargo inspections, all the containers that come in via Matson, or the Young Brothers shipments that come in between islands, the Pasha containers. Our maritime office is also in charge of doing on-site inspections. If Costco's bringing in plants or produce, an inspector will go to that location and inspect and sample the materials being unloaded from the containers. One of the first parts of inspecting something like that is to just check the manifest and make sure there isn't anything that shouldn't be coming in. So unfortunately, the pests keep coming and coming and coming. So here's a picture of an inspector inspecting some produce, and the lettuce that she's inspecting produced all the insects in the vial down below. And maybe some of those insects aren't pests, but it's an unreasonable amount of insects to be on any kind of product that comes into the state. So as inspectors, we have to have a threshold, and to have a heavy presence of any insect coming in on plants or produce is unacceptable, and those items will be rejected. So I would say this is one of the big things that we should talk about, and it's probably really important for HFUU and really everybody. Our world lately has become a one-click and get nation. Anything we want, we buy. And in many cases, people are buying plants, they're buying animals, they're buying seeds. And the places that they're purchasing them aren't always responsible vendors that care, if one, if they're following the rules or the laws, and two, if they're sending pests or not. And most people don't realize that Hawaii is really unique, and that we don't have a lot of the same pests they have in other parts of the world and the rest of the United States. So here's the Matson vessel. So when we go to the harbors, anything that's marked as ag or a refrigerated container, we can inspect, and we try to do the best job we can and make sure there isn't containers coming in with dirt that could have unknown nematodes. Some of the things we've found in containers are live animals, like skunks. Bats with rabies have come out of containers. So definitely another source. Fortunately, Hawaii is so isolated, a lot of pests won't survive the ocean voyage. So the Maritime Office also runs the nursery certification program. And this is a program where, well, especially on the Big Island, that has the most certified nurseries. But it's a program where you can follow plant growing guidelines and become your own certification. So you can ship out your own plants and stamp your own boxes without going through any kind of inspection process, other than coming out and making sure everything is clean a couple times a year, making sure that all the rules are followed. And as long as your shipments continue to be pest-free, it can make the life for a grower or producer a lot easier. I guess everybody's should be familiar with the little fire ant. So this is something that here on Maui, we reject shipments for probably every week. And of course, most of those shipments are coming from the Big Island, where the little fire ant is very widespread. I like this picture because you can see just how small the ant really is. And unless you're trained to look for it, it's likely that you won't see it. So you might feel comfortable, you know, well, what we've experienced is people are bringing plants directly from the Big Island, and inadvertently, they're also bringing the little fire ant. And they're a slow moving ant, but they're, I would say, one of Hawaii's absolute worst pests. So we really want to keep awareness about that movement. So I love banana plants, world's largest herb. As you can see, the picture on the right, though, is got banana punchy top to a extreme degree. It's not always so apparent, but sometimes I see people coming into the office and they've scheduled an appointment to have their plants looked at before they fly out, and they're bringing these banana cakeys and they look almost that bad. And you know, when I tell them that one, their plants are sick, and they're just going to make more sick plants, and that they can't take it, I think they usually understand. But it's surprising what people don't know. So of course, there's some koki populations. I would say most of the Big Island, and some pockets on Maui and some pockets on Oahu. The Department of Agriculture doesn't control big populations like Maliko here in Haiku. But we do go out and catch outlying frogs to help support residents in places where there isn't any koki. But you can see the eggs and how small a juvenile can be. And of course, the juveniles don't call at all. So they can be very hard to detect. And it's something else that we regularly intercept in inter-island shipments. So the coconut rhinoceros beetle, I really feel like everybody should be concerned about it. It's really big, and it's established on Oahu. They're still fighting it there, but it's not on any of the other islands. If you go, can you go to the next slide? So you can see the size of the hole that one of these beetles can make. I mean, it's huge. The adult is, you know, bigger than the end of my thumb. And like if you're riding a motorcycle down the highway and you don't have face protection, you hit one of these babies, you're gonna go down. I mean, they could be problematic in ways not only affecting palms. They have about 300 hosts, I think, that exist here in Hawaii. So, and even banana is one of their hosts. So they really could become a terrible problem. So here we got the coffee berry borer, and of course, it's been spread to Maui now, and it's been on the Big Island for a long time. So unfortunately, when a pest like this becomes established it usually means that there's going to be more pesticides used. So this is what we don't want our palms to look like in Hawaii. So the family of palmidae or palms are a restricted item. You cannot bring palms from the US into Hawaii. In California, they have the red palm weevil. Actually, not just California, lots of places in the US, but the red palm weevil would also just be a terrible, terrible pest that would leave our plants looking like this. This is lethal yellow palm disease, I believe. But a lots of times it's something like the red palm weevil or the coconut rhinoceros beetle that causes the feeding damage, and that physical damage allows for secondary fungus to come in and to kill plants. So good news, we don't have red imported fire ant here, but it's one of those things that we're always on the lookout for. It's like the little fire ant, terrible pest, very invasive. And if it comes in on a shipment that doesn't get inspected, it could do very well here and affect all our lives. So all the plant quarantine inspectors have opportunity to do snake training. So as we all know, there isn't any populations of snakes here on Hawaii, other than the little Hawaiian blind snake. But it's important that you can have a rapid response and be ready to go out on a snake call if there is one. And that's something that the H2A inspectors do. If we have private jets or planes coming in from places where we know the snake exists, then we always try to meet those planes and inspect the landing gear and make sure there isn't any stowaways. They're just such a terrible pest, and it would just take the establishment of this snake to lose all our native birds. So here's an inspector out doing snake training. The inspectors go to Guam, where there's almost no bird life, but lots and lots of brown tree snakes. So they go out at night and they just catch snake after snake after snake. So this is our pest line. It's been our pest line for a long time, 808-643 pest. And if you Google HDOA, our site will pop up. Just the letters HDOA, it'll pop up, but there's our website as well. And I think in the chat, we'll probably put the Maui PQ email number too, if you have questions. So you look at these pictures and you see how beautiful Hawaii is. But like Scott said, it takes all of us to protect Hawaii, and it takes all of us to be conscious of what we're doing and how we're doing it, and to communicate and work together to keep it beautiful.
All right, thanks, John. And that was just a very brief overview of all the work they do and some of the main pests that we face. So if anybody has any questions that you'd like to ask, you can post them in the chat to, as far as like specific pests that you might be interested in learning more about, or, just more information about how the plant quarantine division works, or what we can do as farmers to be to help you know, do our part to prevent invasive species. So go ahead and you know, ask away if you have questions. One thing I would like to maybe ask you to talk about a little bit more, that I know you've mentioned to me in the past, is just the really being concerned about the direct import that you mentioned of you know, people just ordering from Amazon or ordering from nurseries in Florida or wherever it may be, that pretty much bypasses the inspections to a large extent. And you know, the people who are shipping don't really care about what pests they might be importing to Hawaii. So it's up to the, you know, to the farmers and the people who are, understandably, you want to get some plant stock, you want to get some interesting new plant, but you know, how can farmers who are looking for sources of plant stock or seeds or, you know, different kind of things, find those sources in the the least, you know, risky way and the most appropriate way to be able to protect, you know, to protect our resources?
Yeah, I really like what you said, Scott, about trying to source stuff locally. And you know, it's good. It's important to know, for one, if you're bringing in plants from outside the state, the boxes have to be labeled agricultural materials, live plants, something to that effect that indicates that it's an agricultural item. If it is, and we see it, and we make every effort to see it. Every morning, we're on the lines at FedEx, we're on the line at UPS. If something is marked agricultural, the post office will call us and tell us, oh, we've got this, and we make those inspections. One of the biggest problems is when those boxes come in with those plants that don't have any kind of markings. And recently we see more and more of that. People bringing in restricted plants or plants without the proper markings on the boxes. And in that case, those plants are rejected and they're sent back to their sender. I think maybe last month or the month before, we had a vendor who was sending in unmarked boxes, but the label indicated that it was plants. We opened it up, it was. And we talked to the driver and they said, oh yes, this person often gets these boxes. So contacted the vendor and they just kept sending the plants, so we destroyed them. And then once the plants were destroyed, they contacted us after I'd sent them the email prior to this, when we just sent it back to them. And now they're not doing it. But we'd prefer everybody to just make sure everything is coming in legally. And if something comes in and you've ordered something and it's not been inspected, then give us a call and have us inspect it. We're open every day of the year, the airport office, and from 7:45 or 6 o'clock, depending on the day. We're there till 4:30, and we want to do inspections to make sure we're not spreading pests, make sure you're not spreading pests, and make sure that everything that comes in isn't going to have a negative effect on the islands.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that that the farmers and the agricultural industry see the the Department of Ag and the inspectors as our friends and protectors, not as like somebody who's trying to make trouble for us or whatever. So it's a resource to lean on. And one thing I think that also I'd like to ask you to talk about a little bit is the idea of farmers like doing self-quarantine And whether that's if you're bringing in something from, you know, Florida, or you're bringing something in from another island, or even just transporting materials, soil or plant materials from one part of the island from to the other, what's the kind of the step that you can take when you receive that to make sure to minimize the risk of there being invasive species on it?
Right. So of course, there's some companies that are going to bring in several boxes every week, and we can't open 100% of the boxes, but we'll open a representative of those boxes, or at least try to inspect each species of the plants that are in the boxes. Sometimes it's all one thing, sometimes it's, you know, 20 different things. So we inspect as well as we can. And of course, usually nurseries that send their stuff clean follow that protocol. They have something in place that keeps their plants coming in and they're not getting rejected. Other nurseries seem to be less fastidious in their preparation of their shipments and are rejected more often. And those shipments will be looked at much closer. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And but I guess as far as then once the farmer receives that shipment, what steps can they do?
Oh, right.
For the self-quarantine part.
So yeah, some nurseries do a really good job. Whenever they bring in new plants, they have a separate area where they put those plants. And then of course, as they're unpacking the plants, that's a great time to inspect. I mean, on a shipment I inspected last year, on a single plant, there was ants, snails, plant disease, and aphids. And, you know, that obviously got sent back to the mainland. Actually, I had ants. I think I destroyed that one. But if you're bringing in plants, nobody should care about those plants more than you. So when you're looking at them, you should do a good, clean inspection, and it might behoove you to treat the plants as well, depending on, you know, what kind of operation you run, or if it's something that has enough foliage that would need to be treated. Some plants are really easy to inspect, and others are more difficult.
And you know, I guess what I've heard about is the idea of when you receive plants, instead of just immediately like putting them in the ground or immediately mixing them with your other plants, kind of have a space that's isolated where you can set them out for a period of time, you know, a day or two or whatever, and you can kind of see if there's any slugs that crawl out of it, or, you know, and do your peanut butter test for the little fire ants and things like that. So you have a chance to kind of screen before you go integrate them in with, you know, wherever they're going on your farm.
Right. I've been to a big operation that actually has a screen house for anything they bring in. And then there's other farms that won't allow anything to come in because there's certain pests they're concerned about and are always want to be on the safe side. But yeah, I mean, some nurseries that bring in cut flower from the Big Island do their own peanut butter stick test for little fire ant, you know, or they have they bust them out on a lifetime table that's over cement, and as they're unpacking, they're looking at it, they're checking it for snails or for slugs, or again for ants or problems. And everybody kind of has to be their own shepherd in the respect of making sure what they've ordered is good. I would say another important thing is if you get a shipment from somebody who is sending you a pest, that you don't support their business. And if they're sending their stuff to Hawaii, it's always good if you report it to us, because we can follow up with them, make sure they know what the rules are, make sure what the expectations are, and try to prevent future shipments of having pests in them.
There's a couple questions in the chat that I wanted to just read off. And Cynthia has asked about the percentage of shipping containers that are inspected from their destination before they're shipped to Hawaii. And then what are the percentage that are inspected when they arrive? And also, do you use dogs?
So all the ag containers are on ag hold down at Matson before they're released. So all the ones that have been flagged for agricultural inspection, so they're bringing in farm stuff, they're bringing in feed, they're bringing in that, agricultural goods. All those are inspected before they leave Matson here on Maui. I can't say that for every island, but it's likely the same. Most of our containers are all coming from Oahu. So everything comes into Oahu and then it comes over here. But they're inspected here on this island. So I would say all of them are. And then if like produce containers are coming in and they've not been seen in transit, they haven't been released because they're low risk items, then all of them are inspected here on Maui. And that means that the maritime inspector is going to be going to Costco and he's going to inspect 10 containers every week, and he's going to go to Safeway and make sure that he's inspected each kind of flour that's coming in that shipment that's going to go out to our Safeway branches. They're going to be going to places like VIP, that's supplying stores and restaurants and stuff. So basically, everything that hasn't been inspected will be inspected here. When you look at what doesn't get inspected, it's when you're looking at really big shipments and there just isn't the time or manpower to go through every box. So what we try to look at is a representative of each item and see, is this posing a risk to Hawaii? Does that answer your question?
Well, I think so. That wasn't my question, but I think that I think that hopefully addressed her question, and she can follow up if not. But Carrie asked about with the OLB that they can be transported on pallets, wood pallets. Is that something that there's kind of any way to prevent that from being transported in our island, or inspection around that?
So wood pallets have been a big problem, and yeah, they've been a real challenge, especially on the Big Island, I think, because of the little fire ant. We've had cases where we know they've treated the plants, they got them clean. It just looks like they did a lot of work to keep them pest free. And then there's a little fire ant nest in the pallet, and we find the little fire ant because they're arboreal. They want to get up in those plants. And then of course there's on pallets you can have koki or slugs and snails. All kinds of things can get on the pallets. They get thrown onto a barge, and then where do they want to go? They want to go to something green, and they'll go to a pallet of plants. I mean, there's a lot of challenges for nurseries that ship plants. And I would say in general, most of them try to do a good job.
Kevin, you asked if you could raise your hand and ask a question. Do you want to go ahead and unmute and just?
Yes, I can't spell or type, so I prefer to ask questions kind of verbally. I have a nursery in Waimanalo. We sell water plants and bamboo, and oftentimes people from other islands come and want to take them back. I generally suggest to them that we wash all the soil off the plants and then have them stop at the Department of Ag Station. I believe it's on Sand Island. Do you have any other suggestions that I could add to that? I don't like to ship plants. It's just, I don't want to use the word nightmare, but it's a challenge just getting down to young brothers. So we do not ship plants.
Right. Well, I think if you're telling your customers to have them inspected before they go to their island, then you're doing the right thing. And you're right, there is an inspection at Sand Island. And I believe they can also do inspections at the airport there. You'd have to confirm that with the Oahu office, but I think they call it, I forget, there's a little road kind of in between the international part and the inner island part. And there's an office there, and I think they can do inspections there as well. So that might be more convenient for someone who's flying out. But if they need an inspection, I always encourage they make an appointment.
Yeah, so I sent my
everybody's running around all the time.
I sent my daughter some lychees to Seattle, and I had them inspected at the airport, and they were very helpful. Yeah, so froze them ahead of time and then shipped them, but I don't think I'm going to do it again. They didn't kind of arrive in an edible condition, but they were safe. So thank you very much.
Right. I think that would actually be the USDA who inspects fruits in their frozen state and then allows them to go to the mainland.
Thanks, Kevin. A couple more questions in the chat is from Katie is asking how many and what invasive frogs do we have on Maui besides the koki?
Well, there's no native frogs on Maui.
So every frog is invasive.
Well, so, you know, the cane toads, the bufo, and then the bullfrog, American bullfrog is here, but not seen that much. But it was a common food, during the plantation area because they raised them in the punoais. But I've seen one in the last, I don't know how many years I've seen one. But we've intercepted tree frogs at the airport in plant shipments. And it seems like those frogs usually come in from Florida. And sometimes their stuff is sourced from Central or South America or Puerto Rico. But as far as I know, on Maui, we've got the American bullfrog, the cane toad, Bufo marianus, and then the koki. That's as good as I can give you.
I know I hear these little frogs singing at night.
Oh, of course, greenhouse frogs, yes. And we have greenhouse frogs are pretty common, and they do make a little chirp.
I just heard one right when we were getting ready for this meeting.
And we find those in shipments sometimes too. They're not.
Other than the koki,
I've never posed a problem to anything in my garden or on my farm.
Okay. On the sort of reptile amphibious genre, Katie also asked about the Madagascar geckos. Is that a concern? Is that anything people should be doing anything about when they see them?
Well, there's a giant Madagascar day gecko that gets, like 8 or 9 inches long. It gets big. And even this week, I caught a brown anole or a brown anole that 10 years ago was very uncommon. Now I see it just about everywhere on Maui. But I grabbed it and it was quick to bite me. And I held my hand up and showed my wife, and it was just hanging onto my finger. I mean, you'll see them, they're long and brown, and they're not a gecko. They don't have those round toes. They have more like long claw-like fingers, and the males like to throw their orange throat patches out and challenge each other. So they're pretty aggressive, and I think they're probably displacing geckos as well, but no gecko, I mean, there's like 5 or 6 species that have been here since World War II, and seems like a lot of people think that they're endearing. We don't encourage having any reptiles on the island, because if we do get snake infestation, it's like a wildfire. There's just an endless supply of easy food. So again, that's another thing we're always kind of monitoring the FedEx and UPS lines for, to make sure people aren't bringing in illegal animals.
Well, on that subject, Michael asked, what is the strangest animal or plant you've seen come into Hawaii when opening a container?
For me personally, it was a skunk, because you know, we get a lot of crazy calls, and you know, someone thinks there's something there, but there isn't. And I went out and I inspected this container, and I barely cracked the container. I was like, oh my gosh, there is a skunk in here. So luckily, we had some cat traps, and we just put a little water and some dog food in there, and the skunk went in right away, because after 10 days or 2
Probably
weeks
a little
on the
dehydrated
ocean,
from the
it was very hungry. But it was challenging because, well, one, I didn't want to get sprayed, and 2, I had to get it out of the container. So I guess that was probably the most surprising catch I've had on Maui.
I know you mentioned possums too. You've had possums come in as well.
Oahu has had more exotic animals, seizures and fines. Just, you guess, they've got a population that's so much bigger, and yeah, it's crazy what people want to bring in. I mean, I got people calling and saying, hey, I want to bring in some antelope. I mean, I can tell them there's a process to do that, but that it's highly unlikely that they're going to be able to. So, yeah. And then, of course, there's also problems with people wanting to move birds that are, you know, considered injurious, you know, to agriculture or to the native environment, that are here, but they want to ship them. So that's another thing that we have to tell people, that they're not allowed to move.
Anybody else have questions? Go ahead and just pop them in the chat, or like Kevin, if it's something that is a little longer that you want to, that's easier to explain, then let me know. One thing I wanted to mention is, I know that you can't, you know, as Department of Ag, you can't sort of endorse certain sources of plants, but one thing I am aware of is that for those on Maui, the native nursery in it's let's see, on Na'alai Road is a good source of plants. They're not organic, but they're very diligent about invasive species. So that's a good local place for to get trees and things for folks who want to, you know, expand your orchard. And also that of the sort of big chain stores, Lowe's is particularly diligent about invasive species, and they have, if you go in the store, you'll see a sort of display board, informational board that they put up there, that Department of Ag helped provide the information for, to try to educate their customers. And they try to be, relatively diligent about invasive species as well. So like if you're gonna shop at one of the, one of those stores, Lowe's has a good reputation as caring about this kind of stuff and being a good source. So
I don't tell anybody where to shop.
Right. I know, but, I'm saying that.
But yeah, Lowe's has been good about putting up pest advisories, and the nursery manager over there, Peggy's real diligent about making sure everything's inspected, and she's always asking questions. And a lot of calls that we get are actually referrals from her, from things she hears in the public that she's concerned about. And one thing I want to say over and over and over is report, report, report. I mean, if you see something and you've never seen it before, report it to us. Bring us a sample, email a picture. The more information you have, the better. Yeah, we want to support you in making sure you keep your place pest-free. It is kind of seasonal, the new finds that people discover. In many cases, the insects have been here for, well, since before, over 30 years, and yet someone's seen it for the first time. But we're always happy to take a look at a pest for anyone. That's what we want to do. We want to help the public recognize pests and prevent the spread or introduction of them.
One other question from Carrie is asking about the Queensland longhorn beetle. Says orchard trees are being hit really hard in Kea'au area, and this will become one of the worst invasive orchard pests if it's not stopped here. What is being done to stop the spread to other areas? There's no authorized treatment for the beetle yet.
So that's a great question. Again, I live on Maui, and I've never seen the QLB damage, but I've seen the pictures, and I've read the pest advisories. I think on a neighbor island, we did find some wood with damage. But as far as I know, it's only on the Big Island. And if I'm correct, is it only on the east side, like the Hilo, Puna area, or has it spread to the other side? That's a question for her, I guess. I can't give her any good information. I would say that her best bet is to contact the Hilo office, because those guys will have some great information. And they can definitely refer her to ways of reducing, the population in her orchard.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, she says we're in constant contact. We're actually a test orchard, so.
Oh, that's great. That's excellent.
Katie asked, do you know if we, look, there's Vincent.
Hey, you guys. What a great presentation, John. Thanks so much. Right on, Scott. You guys rock it, man. Love it, all the information. So critical. And I have a question for you, John.
Oh no.
Well, no, being on the Board of Agriculture and how I can affect agenda items, what would your wishes, hopes, and dreams be for invasives that the state could take leadership on, both monetarily and also policy, to be able to take a more proactive approach to already, the support that they do give?
Wow. That's a big question. And it's way
well,
above
this is your wheelhouse, brother.
And
so
it's way above my pay grade. And
well,
tonight I showed a couple HDOA slides, and I try to do that just to show I have a lot of experience inspecting, and I look at all kinds of stuff coming in from a lot of different avenues. We need more inspectors. Positions are opening up now, but funding is a problem, and attracting employees is difficult.
Right.
Your federal counterpart, the USDA, they have a lot larger budget than we do. Mm-hmm. Hawaii seems to focus more on the tourist budget than the agricultural budget.
Well, so I don't know if
I really can't answer that question.
No, it's a loaded question. But at the same time, this is important in the spirit that you do have direct experience. You're in the trench, for God's sake, and so being in the trench, you have firsthand experience as to what's really truly needed, as opposed to a legislature who is just not in that trench and has a perception of what is needed. I've been stumping for us to have an agricultural system developed, and your mana'o to that would be highly valued, in the spirit that I feel like at some point the agricultural sector, because right now we're doing a soil health initiative statewide with the agricultural sector,
yeah.
And I feel that at some point we're going to be able to evolve to have everyone associated with agriculture come to the table, develop a plan for an agricultural system, and have all these guys with all this money give to a legacy fund, no return on investment, but that they can have their names on a system here for Hawaii. So all the infrastructure could be put in place, all the monies, all the resources that's needed for invasives, all the money and resources that's needed for food hubs and for regional compost sites and cover crop seed industry, all that stuff that makes up an agricultural system could be, brought forward through a legacy fund. And I like to quip that, you never see a U-Haul trailer behind a hearse. So a lot of these guys that got multi-billions of dollars of money and they're living in Hawaii would, I think would be open to investing if their fellow billionaires also invested. So we're going down that road and continuing to stump, and who knows who's on tonight who may be hearing that could have some influence in that respect. But I really appreciate her, and you and Scott are very close friends, and that tells a lot, because you both are rock stars in this whole process of protecting the environment and advocating for local agriculture. So thank you so much, both of you folks.
Well, thank you. I hope some of that vision catches some traction and gets some fruition. If you want to see where we need money, just take a look at the cars we drive.
Yeah, I hear you, brother. I hear that. The Maui cruises. Well,
don't worry, the state seal is still on the door.
That's great. Well, there's it will get traction. I feel, this is the time right now. There's a grant being written that we're a stakeholder in from the federal government, $1 billion coming down for mitigating carbon offset, to create carbon offsets through soil health practices. So, we get that grant as we're a stakeholder, and Kohala Center and Oahu RC&D and DLNR and Maui Cattlemen's Council are stakeholders. And if we get that grant, that is really going to start to shift some things as far as money coming in to all this, because it's built around soil health, and it's built around getting our vitality back and our mojo back in agriculture here locally. And so, yeah, man, we'll just keep one step at a time and keep putting clear drops of water in a muddy pond, clear it out.
Yeah, well, it sounds great. I'd love to see it all happen. That's for sure.
Yeah, me too. you know, we're running out of time. We have all the time we need. So, you know, Scott, I know, brother, you're on our foundation board, and you bring a lot to the table always around grants, around articulating what's needed in local agriculture. You've been a champion in there in Hana with Mikala, with the semi-slug, educating folks about, you know, how to deal with the semi-slug. And I mean, talk about a trench, you know, getting in the trench with semi-slugs, man. That's, I take my hair off to you, brother, you know. And so it's a thing where it's really important that all this coming forward shows people that there's like highly committed, articulate, and astute people involved in this whole process. So I won't keep you guys any longer. I'm gonna jump in the shower here, and but I really appreciated hearing your presentation, and I thank you so much. And Scott, thanks for hosting it.
Yeah, for sure. Honored to fill in for you, and thanks for jumping on there.
And thanks for the opportunity, Vince. I appreciate it, because it really is important, and I want to encourage people to reach out to us, not only for inspection, but with questions, or if they want to move plants, how to do it, how to make it easy. You know, we don't charge for our inspections; they're free. So,
cool.
We welcome public contact.
Wonderful. Well, you're doing great work. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Aloha.
Thank you.
As is typical for this time of evening in Hana, my internet is becoming very unstable, so I may kind of go on and off here and freeze for a few moments. So bear with me if that happens. I was thinking we could just, you know, you recommended this. I'm going to share my screen here for a second to the website that, you know, we send out this link, and Katie had posted this in the chat for folks, and maybe you could put it in there one more time for folks who'd come in later. But this is the new pest advisories page on the HDOA website. And, you know, maybe if you could just talk a little bit about the resources that are on this page, and if there's any that you want me to sort of like click into, we can take a look at them, but just talk about how, you know, you'd like people to use this as a resource, and the great information that's in here.
So yeah, if you go to the HDOA site and you click on the link for the new pest advisories, each one of those pest advisories is 1 or 2 pages, so that it's real short, it's concise. It talks about the pests, it talks about the host, it talks about the origin, and it talks about possible, you know, control. So it's just if you're seeing something. When I look on some of these online forums via Facebook, farming groups or whatnot, I see the same questions, you know, over and over and over. And in many cases, if somebody that has a pest, they could use this resource to find out what it is and what they could do about it. You know, half the battle is finding out what something is. If you look online right now, the avocado lace bug, I've been seeing so many questions about the avocado lace bug, which is just, you know, recently arrived on Maui, but has spread like wildfire.
Virus, I'm looking for that one in here. Yeah, so there's a lot of great information in here, and it seems like it's kind of organized by date. So the most recent things are at the top, but if you just scroll down, you know, you can go back and find all kinds of great resources in here. So. Any other questions that anybody has that you want to throw out here? See if anybody's, you know, Katie asked a question
I cannot hear you.
Oh no, Scott might be frozen. Okay. John, so here's the question Scott was about to ask. Do you know if we still have Hoary bats in Maui? I don't know how to pronounce that. H-O
You mean the Hawaiian bat? The Hawaiian bat is still here. Yes.
The Hawaiian
Yeah.
bat. Yep.
The Hawaiian bat's still on Maui.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's more in places like the Big Island where there's better habitat.
I just never see them anymore.
You know, I agree. Me too. I don't see them as much as I used to. I used to see them around the street lights at night.
I used to see them at dusk in the evenings.
Or yeah, evening.
Flying overhead, but no more.
Yeah, they're not extinct. I know that.
Yeah. Where do they live in Maui mostly?
You know, I don't have any real specifics.
We do.
I think up in Olinda, my friend made a bat house, and I think there were bats in it. And I kind of think there was an old church in Wailuku. I don't think it's there anymore. I think it had bats in it too. In the early 90s when I lived there, I remember seeing bats. But you're right. I think they're much more scarce. I don't see as many pueo as we once had either. I mostly see barn owls.
Yep, me too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, anyone?
Hi, I have another question about rapid ohia death. Do you see that in Maui? I haven't heard about it in Maui lately.
So it's there at one point was a positive sample, and the area where that was found was in East Maui, and the area where the tree was destroyed, and I mean burned down to the ground. And as far as I know, there hasn't been any more positive finds. But that's another thing that we're constantly doing is we're enforcing the inter-island quarantine of one ohia plants or their plant parts, including the flowers for lei or halau. And we're also enforcing the no soil from the Big Island because the fungus can be moved that way.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thanks everyone. Are there any other questions? Scott, do you want to close us out?
Yeah, I guess if nobody else has any questions, I'd just like to reiterate basically that HDOA is our friend and a resource, and that John would love.
I think he wants to say John would love to hear from you if you've got questions or need help with movement or inspection.
Absolutely. And we are going to be sending out an email with a lot of resources, and there will be a new HFUU page all about invasive species. So please make sure to check that out. But we will email it to you, so we'll send you the link on that.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks,
my internet's just going in and out here, so I might start saying something and then nobody can hear me. So,
well, thanks for allowing me the opportunity for the outreach. I hope you guys have a awesome evening. Thank you so much for your part, and yeah, I appreciate everything you guys do, and hopefully this helps people make good decisions when they're bringing something in or moving it.
Thanks a lot, John. Really appreciate your information tonight and appreciate you every single day out there, you know, doing the work on the front lines to protect our agricultural industry, protect our native species and habitats and everything else. So appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, mahalo. Appreciate it too. I appreciate all the help. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and Katie for hosting us.
Thank you, Katie.
Do you want to mention, Katie, do you know what the next talk coming up is, or do you have that planned yet? Any teasers?
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, I do. Thanks, Scott. It's going to be the 4th Wednesday in May. We will be talking about May 25th, talking about compost with the infamous Chantel Chung of Maona Community Garden in Kona. So it'll be all about compost. So see you there. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, John. Thank you, Scott. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
We want to interview you.